Here we go.
Well, hello there. How you doing? You're looking absolutely fan-bloody-tastic. How do you do it? Let me know your secret. Anyway, it's Friday, baby. Thank crunchy, it's Friday. And as I said that, there was something in my brain going, no Thursday, no Thursday, no Thursday, no Thursday. But it's Friday. I was right. See, I'm wrong that often, I can't even trust myself. Are you subscribed to the channel? Are you? If you're not, please do, and smash like. Even if you don't like the video, just do it anyway. I've said before, just do something nice. Do something nice. I don't know whether you know, but it's my birthday soon. I'm going to be 21 again for, I don't know, the umpteenth time. No, actually I'm 45. I can't deny it, but anyway, let's get straight into the meat and potatoes. I know that's what you're here for. You're here for meat, you're here for potatoes, and that's what we're going to talk about, which is the Bryan Kohberger debacle. There is this guy accused of doing this crime, and that is a debacle. At the moment, that's all I can say. But along with many other things that were brought up in this hearing, there are specific things I want to talk about today in this video, because we're talking about the crime itself, inside the house. Now, we're going to talk about the car and stuff like that, and we're going to talk about the DNA in other videos. But in this video, we're specifically talking about the crime. We're not even going to talk about the fact that we don't really know when it happened, because the time frame seems to keep changing. We're not going to talk about that. We're not even going to talk about the potential that there was a naked person seen running from the house, because we don't need to talk about that at the moment. Again, stick a pin in it. We've talked about it before. We may talk about it again. What we're talking about in this video is something very specific. First of all, it's important to understand, despite what you may believe, these poor victims were not murdered in their sleep. There was nobody who was asleep in this house. Not one single person. Not one single person. That is my belief, and there is nothing that would suggest that I'm wrong. Now, could I be wrong? I could. Do I think I'm wrong? No. Do I ever think I'm wrong? I don't ever think I'm wrong. I can be wrong. But look, what do we know? We know absolutely nothing. We know what we're being told happened. And there's two people who have been at the core of all this. And finally, they are being called out. They are being called out by not only us, but other people, namely the defence team. Now, I know what people are going to say. Well, that's their job to do it. They've got to pull everything apart. They are Bryan Kohberger's counsel. But look, there are some very interesting things that come up during this hearing about specifically inside this house the night this crime happened. There have been mention that one of the victims may have been running about in the house. Running about in the house. That could have been the case. That could have been the case. Because what do we know about what actually happened inside that house? What we're being led to believe is that this single solitary person, a criminology student from Washington with no prior connection to this area whatsoever, apart from media statements that would seemingly want you to believe that he is a stalker, and some people still can't get their head around the fact that he isn't a stalker. They just think he is. They think he's a stalker because News Nation told them so, or Dateline, or Court TV. All of these people, they've said their narrative, and now people with can't use their own brain, they can only borrow from elsewhere. They're stuck on that now. They're stuck on it. But with respect of inside this house on this night, we don't really know what happened. We've only got certain people who are telling us a story. But what do we have? We have 8-hour time delays. Which has always been a sticking point to me. If something happens in a house and you witness something fucking odd, bizarre, you'd call 911 a lot quicker. Not 8 hours. Now, we have been told about things such as frozen shock phase. It's a little bit like when you get frozen, like mannequin challenge, but worse, and it can last for hours. But that's seemingly not the case here. Again, we have a crime that we don't understand when it took place. Because again, for the aforementioned reasons, they seem to have shifted the time frame. And I said this long ago, right? This time frame only exists because these people inside this house, the surviving roommates, they're the ones who seem to be dictating when all this happened. Which conveniently, law enforcement can turn around and say, well, we only thought it was them because they're telling us. Now, they have conveniently said, and I quote from this here, it says, Idaho student murder suspect Bryan Kohberger's defence team tore into the credibility of the lone eyewitness who allegedly saw a masked man leaving her off-campus rental home the night 4 of her roommates were killed. Defence attorney Ann Taylor described conflicting statements from the eyewitnesses. So remember, because this is just going hard on Dylan Mortensen, but we do know that Bethany Funk saw something, and that is what's being hidden. And again, it's being mentioned here that there is potentially conflicting information. One saying something, one saying something else, and it seems to be suggesting that both of these can't be true at the same time, because that then wouldn't make sense. So with respect of Dylan Mortensen, what does she say? She says she sees someone who has bushy eyebrows, wearing black, bushy eyebrows, which seems to be immediately, it must be Bryan Kohberger then. Must be Bryan Kohberger. Must be him. Have you seen his brows? It's definitely him. But look, conveniently again, defence attorney Ann Taylor described conflicting statements from eyewitnesses whom Fox News Digital has chosen not to name, like we don't know who it is, including alleged admissions that she had memory problems and wasn't sure if she was dreaming. So that then removes accountability should the shit hit the fan, because she'll just turn around and say, well, I never said that that's definitely what I saw. I never said that. It's possibly what I saw, but I didn't know whether I was dreaming. I was inebriated. I was under the influence, Your Honour, so I can't be trusted on anything that I say. Do you know what I mean? It's that. Nobody wants to grab the bull by the horns and say, no, I fucking knew what happened. I know what I saw. Because they know that they're fucking lying. Now, I just still remain to this day that Dylan Mortensen was very likely leveraged upon. I believe that she was very likely probably shown a picture of Bryan Kohberger. Is that the guy? Do you think that could have been him? She said, ooh, if I squint and look through that frosted glass, it could have been him. Oh, that's it then. Definitely him. That's like me. I look like Brad Pitt through frosted glass. Don't laugh. But yeah, look, 8-hour time delays. And then they brought up the shoe print, right? So this shoe print, which they seem to be, again, trying to suggest that this supports the story given by the fucking daydream believer, that this person walked past her and headed on out of the house, right? But now apparently this shoe print is nowhere else in the house. Nowhere else whatsoever. Nowhere. Not another print. Just in the very place that would seemingly be needed to, again, bolster the story. Well, she's telling the truth. She's definitely telling the truth, because there was a footprint and that was fucking heading that way. Well, where's the rest of it? It's like there's a similar theme here, right? You've got shoe print. Imagine that's a shoe. There. Tells a story, doesn't it? We can now say that we know that he went up there, he come back down there, he walked through here, he walked out the door, because that one shoe print there. And we got this. This is going to be car, this is. So we've got him on this camera. Don't worry, I know he's facing the opposite direction, but that's by the by. But because we've got his car there, we can now say that he went all the way around here, he travelled that way, come down here, round here, and he done this crime, and then he left and he went out there. See what I mean? Same with the DNA on the knife sheath. Now, this is a piece of DNA that is being buried. Absolutely buried. The FBI don't even want any part of it. They've washed their hands of it. Because they very likely, and has been alluded to, that they didn't find enough to substantiate guilt of Bryan Kohberger. It got to the point where they very likely understood what was happening here, and that is that this entire case was being reverse engineered to fit a specific narrative. And they had these little things that they sat down and thought, that will tell the story. And nobody's really going to notice that you need all these other things. like the chain of custody. Again, with the DNA, it's exactly the same as the footprint. It's exactly the same as the car. They have placement, DNA, placement, but they don't have anything else around it. They have nothing else to corroborate or substantiate that placement. Even down to that very shoe print that is sat outside Dylan Mortensen's doorway, apparently right in the doorway, which would seemingly suggest that this was very much a staged scene. So did Dylan Mortensen stage this scene? Or did Dylan Mortensen facilitate law enforcement staging a scene and a scenario? And is that why they've gone quiet, gone off grid, so to speak? Will they ever be forced to come into the courtroom? Is that why law enforcement, the prosecution, were blocking, trying to get access to Bethany Funk, to the point where they knew their case was going to stumble, so they went down the route of a grand jury indictment instead of a preliminary hearing, which would have very likely ended up with Bryan Kohberger walking. Now, if he'd have walked at that stage, now would he have walked at this stage? Because what has changed between right back when we was looking at, we believed that we would be heading into this preliminary hearing, what has changed? What has changed? The car situation. People can't get their head around that. But what it can't seem to understand is there's a car around 1122 King Road that is determined by an FBI specialist to be a 2011 to 2013 white Hyundai Elantra. And that car has not seen anywhere else except there and leaving, but not seen anywhere else, seemingly. That's the suggestion, that there's nothing seeing that car on camera. But then that same FBI agent is shown a picture of Bryan Kohberger's car, and he correctly determines that that's a 2015 to 2016, which proves that he can determine and distinguish the differences between these two cars. So the question is, was he wrong in the first place, or was he right in the first place? But there are some people around this that can't be trusted. And it can be definitely argued that Bethany Funk, well, Dylan Mortensen more so, can't be trusted in this. Now, it might be that she was simply on that night pissed up, drunk, didn't know what was going on, didn't know her ass from her fucking elbows. But she was leveraged upon, and she was told to fill in the gaps of a story to help law enforcement get their guy. And that ship has now sailed. But an 8-hour time delay. The 8-hour time delay, which proves that something happened in that house, they knew about it, and the fact that there were so many people at that property when law enforcement eventually turned up, or when the EMTs turned up, proves that other people were contacted. Which again is about covering us. This is about covering us, and that's why that's very important. Something happens and they decide to speak internally, very likely to the fraternity, sororities, and keep it in-house. But why would you do that? If this was an external problem, you would want law enforcement immediately involved. Something is stinking here. Something is stinking. But again, I find it very, very... I don't know what I saw. I don't know if it's real. I don't know if it's real. I may have been dreaming. I was drunk. How is that witness credible? And how can this entire case, including the timeline of it, which even went against what Kathy Mabber originally said, as someone who had done the autopsies, involved in determining time of death, but that is superseded by someone who has proclaimed during their interviews that they don't even know if they were dreaming or not, and what was real and what weren't real. Make that make sense. I'll catch you all in video 2 later on today. Mwah.